Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that one day, you will no longer exist. Not tomorrow. Not next year. Someday. Every human who has ever lived has faced that realization. It is the most universal thought our species has ever shared. Yet almost no other animal appears to understand death in quite the same way. Animals react to danger. Humans anticipate it. That difference may explain civilization itself. For most of Earth's history, death was immediate. A predator appeared. A storm arrived. A disease spread. Survival depended on reacting faster than everyone else. There was little reason to think decades ahead when surviving the next sunrise was uncertain. Then something changed. Not all at once. Not everywhere. But gradually. The human brain became capable of imagining futures that did not yet exist. It could replay the past. It could plan tomorrow. Eventually, it could imagine a future in which the thinker no longer existed. That realization was both a gift and a burden. No fossil records the first fearful thought. No skeleton preserves the first moment of existential dread. Ideas do not fossilize. But behavior does. Archaeologists search for traces of those behaviors in caves, campsites, and ancient graves. The clues are scattered across continents. Together, they tell a remarkable story. Our ancestors did not simply become smarter. They began seeing time differently. They learned to prepare for seasons they had not yet experienced. They stored food. They shaped better tools. They taught skills to children who would one day teach their own. Planning became survival. As planning improved, societies changed. Small family groups became larger communities. Communities became villages. Villages became cities. Each step required people to invest effort in a future they might never personally enjoy. Why plant an orchard whose fruit you may never taste? Why build a monument that will take generations to finish? Why teach knowledge that others will use long after you are gone? The answer may begin with a simple realization. Life is temporary. That truth changed the human mind forever. Other intelligent animals display remarkable abilities. Chimpanzees use tools. Elephants appear to mourn their dead. Crows solve complex puzzles. Dolphins recognize themselves in mirrors. These discoveries have transformed how scientists understand animal intelligence. But there is little evidence that other species build civilizations around the expectation of their own mortality. Humans do. Every graveyard. Every inheritance. Every history book. Every will. Every monument. Each one quietly acknowledges the same fact. Someone was here. Someone is gone. Someone wanted to be remembered. That desire reaches far back into prehistory. Long before writing. Long before kingdoms. Long before the first cities rose from the earth. Our ancestors began treating the dead differently. Instead of leaving bodies where they fell, they sometimes carried them. They dug graves. They placed loved ones inside. In a few cases, they included tools, ornaments, pigments, or flowers. Archaeologists continue debating exactly what those burials meant. Were they practical? Were they symbolic? Did they reflect spiritual beliefs? The evidence cannot answer every question. But it reveals something profound. Death was no longer just an event. It had become an idea. And ideas have a way of changing everything. Ideas spread. Ideas survive. Ideas reshape civilizations. The human mind was no longer focused only on the present. It could carry invisible worlds inside it. This ability would eventually transform the entire planet. Your ancestors did not simply learn how to survive. At some point, they learned something far more dangerous. They learned that survival always ends. No fossil can tell us the exact day this happened. No cave painting records the first person who truly understood death. But archaeology leaves behind clues. Some of those clues are surprisingly emotional. Around 100,000 years ago, humans in the Levant began burying their dead with unusual care. Bodies were placed in prepared pits. Some were laid on their sides. Others appeared with objects nearby. Whether those objects were offerings or everyday possessions remains debated. But the burials suggest intention. The dead were no longer simply abandoned. They were remembered. Why would anyone spend precious time digging a grave? For hunter-gatherers, every hour mattered. Food spoiled. Predators waited. Winter always returned. Yet people still stopped. They carried the body. They dug the earth. They covered someone who would never wake again. That decision changed everything. It transformed death from an event into an idea. Ideas spread. Ideas survive. Ideas reshape civilizations. Archaeologists continue debating exactly when symbolic burial began. Some sites show convincing evidence. Others remain controversial. Science moves carefully because extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. The picture grows clearer with every excavation. Then another surprise appeared. Our closest extinct relatives may have done something similar. Neanderthals were once imagined as primitive brutes. That image has collapsed. Modern discoveries reveal skilled hunters. They controlled fire. They crafted sophisticated stone tools. They cared for injured group members who survived for years despite severe D. At sites such as Shanidar Cave, researchers uncovered individuals whose remains suggest deliberate treatment after death. Interpretations differ. Some archaeologists argue the evidence supports intentional burial. Others believe natural processes explain the arrangement. The debate continues. That uncertainty matters. Good science welcomes uncertainty. Questions are often more valuable than easy answers. Whether Neanderthals buried their dead exactly as modern humans did remains unresolved. But one conclusion is becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. They lived social lives far richer than people once imagined. They mourned. They cooperated. They protected one another. Perhaps they also wondered where the dead had gone. No one can know for certain. Then came something even stranger. Art. Not decoration. Not usefulness. Symbols. Handprints appeared on cave walls. Animals were painted with astonishing precision. Abstract signs emerged beside them. These images survived tens of thousands of years. Why invest effort creating something with no immediate survival value? Some researchers believe symbolic thinking strengthened cooperation. Others argue it helped transmit knowledge across generations. Still others see connections to ritual and spirituality. The evidence cannot answer every question. But it tells us one undeniable fact. Humans began thinking beyond the present moment. Memory became external. Ideas outlived their creators. Stories survived their storytellers. What happens when your thoughts become immortal while your body does not? That question may have shaped everything that followed. Language expanded. Families grew larger. Communities became more complex. Knowledge accumulated instead of disappearing with each generation. Every generation inherited not only tools, but fears. Children learned which animals were dangerous. They learned where food could be found. Eventually, they also learned something else. Everyone dies. No parent enjoys teaching that lesson. No child forgets hearing it. Psychologists call this mortality awareness. It changes behavior in remarkable ways. Research suggests reminders of death can influence decisions, relationships, generosity, and even political beliefs. One influential framework is terror management theory. Developed by psychologists Jeff Greenberg, Sheldon Solomon, and Tom Pyszczynski, the theory proposes that awareness of mortality motivates humans to seek meaning, identity, and lasting achievements. The theory has inspired decades of research. Some findings support aspects of it. Other findings remain debated. Like many ideas in psychology, the evidence continues evolving. That is how science works. Not by reaching permanent certainty, but by testing ideas again and again. Still, one observation appears across cultures. People search for permanence. Some build monuments. Some write books. Some raise families. Some devote their lives to science. Others create music that may outlive them. Others paint. Others teach. Every path attempts to leave something behind. Ancient Egypt built pyramids that still dominate the landscape. The builders understood something remarkable. Stone lasts longer than flesh. Across the world, the emperors of China commissioned vast tombs. The Maya aligned temples with the heavens. Medieval cathedrals required generations to complete. These projects demanded enormous effort. Many of the people who began them never saw the finished result. Yet construction continued. Why? Because humans can believe in futures they will never witness. That ability may be one of our greatest evolutionary advantages. Not living forever. Creating something that lasts. Knowledge accumulates. Culture expands. Each generation starts where the previous one ended. No wolf writes textbooks. No dolphin builds universities. No eagle preserves discoveries for descendants centuries later. Humans do. Every civilization is built from inherited memory. Books became external brains. Libraries became memory palaces. The internet became the largest archive humanity has ever assembled. Every discovery builds upon another. Every generation speaks with voices from centuries ago. In a sense, the dead continue teaching the living. Not through ghosts. Through information. Ideas survive because minds can preserve them outside the body. Perhaps that is humanity's closest approach to immortality. Not endless life. Being remembered. The desire to leave something behind appears almost universal. Some people leave children. Others leave inventions. Others leave paintings, music, stories, or scientific discoveries.